The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
This is Brad Marcus, and welcome to another episode of Toilet Side Wrestling Talk. Today is the first episode back since my very short-lived retirement. So enough about that. Let's get back to business. My guest today is from Ontario, Canada, and began her in-ring career 2019. She trained at Rock Solid Wrestling and has worked for such promotions as Northland Wrestling, Bordertown Pro Wrestling, Great North Wrestling, and I could go on. She shared the ring with likes of Shane Saber, Addie Starr, Meryl Streep, CC Moss, and again, I could go on, but I'm not going to. So let's welcome today's guest, someone whose thumb is probably stronger than all of my muscles combined put together at their peak. I give you the elite athlete, Nova. Hey, Nova, how are you?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
I really loved seeing those highlights.
Yeah, I mean, that was a while ago now, right?
That was probably 2019 or 2020. It was before the pandemic, but it brought back some good memories.
Now, is it true, this might be a rumor, I read a lot of the rag mags, that match caused COVID-19? No, I read that. That's just a rumor.
That's a big lie.
Yeah, the only person I've heard it from was myself. So I think it's pretty contained rumor. Thank you so much for coming on a Friday night. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to make this as painless as possible.
Okay.
You may come away later saying, God, that guy is really stupid. And you'd be 100% correct.
Oh, no, so I don't think that way.
Okay, well, my wife does. But okay, just a couple randoms before we get into your story. And I'm sure you've answered this a zillion times, places.
We're still getting to know each other. So
exactly. Okay, what does 25 represent?
Okay, so for those who don't know, I don't actually talk about it too much.
Okay.
I try and stay in my pro wrestling career. But there are the very few who do actually inquire what 25 represents. And It's a great question. So my other side career is I am a police officer in Canada.
Okay.
And for a good portion of my career before entering into pro wrestling, my call sign. So we all have call signs for the radio. So for a good 11 years, my call sign was Kilo 25.
Oh, wow.
And so it's more so like it's who I am. It's my persona. It's my unit number, and it's what I was before I took a shot at pro wrestling and then moved my life away like 3.5 hours more south in Ontario to pursue my dream of pro wrestling. So it's kind of like it represents kind of who I was before I turned into a pro wrestler. I never want to forget where I came from. And 25, the number 25 just means a lot to me. And me, you know, it represents me, represents my coworkers at Greater Sudbury Police Service and everything that I grew up into.
Oh God. Well, thank you for sharing that story. That was great. I didn't expect that. And that was very
I'm full of
nice to hear.
surprises.
Okay. My next question is and this is basic just from social media. What's an obstacle course racer?
What's
How
an
does one become like, oh yeah, she's the obstacle course racer?
Oh, OCR, yeah. So there's a lot of them out there now. Like there's Spartan Race. I took part in Spartan Race for many years back when they first started out.
Okay.
There's also Warrior Dash. There's Tough Mudder. Everybody knows Tough Mudder. But it depends on the level of competition. I find that Tough Mudder is more so a team dynamic for team building purposes. Spartan Race, you can either enter in for fun, for a personal challenge, or you can actually compete for cash.
Oh, wow. Now, are these things that you've won?
No.
Oh, really?
I'm not that good at Spartan Race, but I did multiple Spartan races every summer for a good 6 years.
Did the same people win it every time? Like, like a big marathon?
It's a toss-up based off of who comes in, who's out, who's injured.
And can you get pretty badly injured doing that?
Absolutely. The like the Spartan Beast, for example, there's different types of races, there's different distances, but sure. I recall the Spartan Beast back when I did it, I think in 2017 or 2018, and that was like, I think 23 kilometers, and I was running up and down multiple ski hills in the mountains in Quebec, Canada.
Oh my God.
And it took me a couple hours. It was a while.
Did you do this with someone, or like this is just by yourself, like if you were running a race?
Some of them I did by myself. Some of them I did if there was a friend who also enjoyed competing.
And do you still compete in these?
No, I do not. So as I'm getting older, I am quickly seeing that there's less time in my schedule, in my day, and then B, my body isn't the way it used to be. I'm 34 years old now, so I did beat up my body for a good number of years in Spartan Race, and now I'm beating up my body in pro wrestling. So I really do have to just decide what my priority is right now, and I have to time manage right now with my shift work and my fitness and my training, and now my wrestling shows. So that's my priority, is my pro wrestling now.
Yeah, you're an adult now.
I'm an adult.
Like,
I have to make
some adult
decisions.
So you grew up where in Ontario?
Dowling, Ontario.
Okay, I'm geographically challenged. I'm from like Chicago, say.
Okay. So Dowling, Ontario is about, I'm trying to think. Toronto would be, I guess, the big city you may have heard of.
Sure, I think I have.
And Dowling is probably, I would say, maybe 5 hours north.
Oh, wow.
I grew up in the bush. There was maybe 2,000 people who reside there. It's grown significantly now, but there wasn't much to do growing up. I found myself to be alone most of the time by myself, perusing the web and just reading up on, pro wrestling and sports, and going dirt biking and riding around my Banshee, just outdoor bush stuff, small town girl stuff.
Did you have siblings?
I have a younger brother.
Okay. Was there a big age difference, or?
3 years.
Okay. So were you lonely?
Yes.
Okay, hon, let me back this up a little bit. When you say I lived in the bush, what does that mean?
So
like I immediately think of Australia. Go on.
The town that I grew up in is a drive-through town. So it's a little town where you basically drive through it to get to another town. You wouldn't even, if you blinked, you'd miss it. Okay. It's surrounded by trees and sand pits. It's got one grocery store, one Tim Hortons, one library, and that's about it. We don't even have a bus we don't have bus transit. We you know, like I don't even think taxis go out that way. It would cost too much to go out there to pick somebody up and drive them out to the next
Oh
town.
my God.
It's
How did your parents end up there? Or how did you end up there?
my father's side of the family is from there.
Okay.
My mother's side of the family is from the next bigger city south, which
Okay.
is about, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes south. But my father, I guess he spent his career operating a hockey arena
Oh, wow.
in the town closest to me. So I grew up there in Dowling.
Were you is every child put on ice at a certain point?
Yes.
Is it
In Northern
regardless
Ontario,
of your
yes.
choice?
Pardon me?
Regardless of if you want to or not?
Hockey is just it's a way of life up north.
Uh-huh.
Everybody does it, whether you do floor hockey without ice, or you're on the ice in an arena, or you're on the ice in your backyard in a you know, on a man-made rink.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me ask you a question. And I want to state I'm married. My wife would go nuts. I'm hypothetically, if somebody took you on a date to a hockey game, would that be would that be a good like date? You know, like a first date?
Absolutely.
From a woman's
I am the
perspective
elite
from Canada.
athlete, and I like sports everything.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. But say you weren't as active as you are. You know, you're your average Canadian from the bush. Would they be like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's go to a hockey game as our first date?
I'd be totally down.
All right, cool. I just wanted to get an idea about how
I've actually
popular
never
hockey
been
is.
taken on a date to a hockey game, and so that's still up for grabs.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, someone
Well,
still needs to do it.
yeah, you can give your phone number later at some later on. Anyways, okay. So you had a brother who was 3 years younger than you.
Yes.
Were your parents around much?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
But you just went and did your own
both
thing.
of us. They put both of us in sports, and they're
Okay.
quite encouraging. They would show up to all of our games and watch us. We played multiple sports growing up.
So like with all seasons, like you moved on to the next.
Yeah, so if school was out, then I would be, you know, in a softball and soccer league in the summertime. But then when school's in, I'm playing I'm competing in track and field. I'm on the volleyball team, basketball team, badminton team. I did everything.
Oh, wow.
And that's the whole reason why I am the elite athlete. It's a big part of who I actually am. I played on every single sports team. I was athlete of the month, athlete of the year.
Oh, wow.
So that's basically why I just continue to adapt that.
Did everyone in your town know who you were?
I guess in my town, the town's small enough, but I had to actually travel to another town just to go to school.
Oh, really? And
I
how many?
I only had an elementary school in my town. So if I wanted to go to high school, I had to go to the next town.
And how many students were at that high school?
A couple hundred, I think.
Okay.
I know that when I graduated elementary school, we were 8.
Oh my God.
And then when I graduated high school, I think we were maybe 45 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Not terrible. 8. Wow, that's great. Did you guys use ink and feathers or for writing or just regular pens?
I think they wanted us to use pencil in school and double-lined our essays. You know,
Oh, really? Yeah. So did you love participating in the sports? Like you weren't pushed into that, right?
No, I totally enjoy team dynamic. I fell in love very quickly the most with volleyball.
Okay.
It's something that I continued to do in my adult life before I got into pro wrestling. But I honestly feel like other than track and field and, you know, doing sprints for myself, I was pretty much in team sports for every sport minus track, and then pro wrestling, I'm kind of doing this solo here. So
when did like pro wrestling like kind of enter your orbit?
It entered my orbit when I was working for Greater Sudbury Police Service. And in 2018, I was working out in the gym one evening there, training. And I was watching Raw on TV. And I honestly just had this
Had
moment.
you seen it before?
Pardon me?
Had you seen wrestling?
Oh, yeah.
before?
I've grown
Okay.
up watching WWE, WCW.
Okay.
I had this epiphany, and it was totally random and spontaneous, but I just had, am I allowed to swear?
Oh, sure. You're an adult, right?
I am
Okay,
an adult.
then
but
yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
Your podcast.
I had to double check. No, go ahead. I don't care.
I had a fuck it moment where I saw it on TV and I said, you know what? I'm in my 30s now. I'm not getting any younger. I know with my job, tomorrow was never promised. So fuck it. I don't know where I can wrestle or where I can bounce around a ring, but I at least want to try. So literally, like in that very moment, I just sat my ass on the floor after my workout during my stretching session, and I started Googling wrestling schools in my area, which there are none. So I ended up speaking to Tornado from Rock Solid Wrestling, and we actually set up a meeting at a Starbucks so he can just kind of go over indie wrestling with me, because that was totally new to me. I didn't even know indie wrestling existed.
Had you ever been in a wrestling ring at this point? No. Okay.
Never.
Okay, go on. So you met him at like a Starbucks, and what happened? Like you just asked tons of questions?
Asking tons of questions, but he's also more or less, he's not sugarcoating it. He's basically saying in pro wrestling, like, things happen. There's a possibility of injury. You know, we know your job's in law enforcement. He also mentioned a lot of females don't like to stick around once they, you know, they get clocked in the face accidentally. You know, it's not a good feeling. And there's a huge turnaround in pro wrestling. So he just wanted to make sure that if he was going to take the time, putting in his own time outside of his family training me, that it's something that I actually want to be here to do.
Yeah. Were you fit at that time, like physically fit? You know what I mean? Like prepared.
Yes, and that's another reason too, is that I am a competitive volleyball player, and I'm at a point now where I was entering volleyball tournaments with ex-university and ex-college and ex-pro athletes, ex-pro volleyball players, and I'm traveling all over the province competing in these tournaments for cash. That's pretty much the most that we're all doing now, because we've graduated school.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, I'm in the best damn shape of my life, and what else can I do to show that off?
And did you play volleyball like after high school? Like, did you go to college after high school?
I did. I got recruited to Humber College.
Okay.
After high school, and they were number 3 in Canada at the time.
Wow.
I blew my ACL.
Jeez.
During that time. I had to take a year off college and recover.
And
at that time, I wasn't good enough to play for Humber again, because I'm kind of in my recovery mode. But I ended up staying near my hometown and finishing my college studies at Cambrian College in Sudbury, Ontario. Okay. From there, I actually
were you disappointed about like I want to get back and start playing?
I did, but I didn't give up. I used the entire year of that second year of college to continue to enter myself back into volleyball and train and get strong. So then once I graduated Cambrian College and I graduated my program, I had 2 options.
Okay.
I got recruited to Griffith University in Australia to play volleyball there, and I could have continued my university studies. Or at 21 years old, I can commence my career in policing and start with Greater Sudbury Police Service. So my knee wasn't still 100%, and I didn't want to take a chance going overseas and then it blowing out on me again. So I ended up sticking with starting my career in law enforcement at 21 years old.
And so at this point, like, were your parents and like brothers big supporters of you? Like when you were playing volleyball, do they come and watch?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah. My family was always supportive. Yeah.
So, okay, now I'm skipping back. So you at the Starbucks, you have this conversation, And do you end it like, well, let me think about this and I'll get back to you, or do you end it with when can I start?
I was very interested, and it wasn't more so when can I start, but Rock Solid Wrestling was actually filming some episodes and having some matches, I think in a week or two from our meet time. So Tornado just said, stop by, come see it, come see what indie wrestling's like. You may like it, you may not, and let me know. So that's what we did. And so Rock Solid Wrestling was filming for Eastlink TV. And I do believe they still do show the episodes on Eastlink TV. So that's when I started. I saw an indie wrestling ring for my first time.
Did they make you put one together or help put one up?
Yes. So once I was interested in commencing in pro wrestling, I started doing some of the backstage work, I guess. So I started to become ring crew. I still do put the ring up here and there when I can help out. I was also doing video, either like ring video or hard camera.
Oh, wow.
I was doing a lot of little jobs just to kind of pay my dues, but also at the same time, I'm super thankful because I really got to know, the industry.
Yeah.
And I respect it so much more. You don't like, it's amazing where I actually respect the industry so much more. And I appreciate being in a wrestling ring so much more when I could put it up myself and others.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just see how it's built, see what I'm wrestling on.
Food tastes better when you make it, like that type of thing. Like,
yeah.
Do you remember the first time you got into a wrestling ring?
Yes.
Was that any like feeling to remember, or is that just innocent?
It was, I believe, in Collingwood, Ontario. And that is when Tornado wanted to show me how to bump for my first time.
Oh, God.
That was probably pretty messy. But I ended up coming home that evening with my forearms full of bruises. I took a photo. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a good time.
How many bumps do you have to take until you're like, all right, I got this? I mean, over
I
100?
don't recall, but
Okay.
I find that it's an ongoing thing that I'm always trying to perfect, because as soon as you stop training for a little bit, you get the ring rust.
Yeah.
And you just got to get your feet wet again. So it's always something I'm striving to perfect, along with everything else that I am learning in the wrestling industry. And
did you have any sort of anxiety early on, like in training? Like was it ever like a very daunting thing?
The anxiety that I get, and I do get it, it's training with large groups of people.
Okay.
And this is just something, even in school, it's something that I've learned that I've gotten to know myself and what my learning style is and how I'm going to learn the best and progress the best. And that's in small groups and or one-on-one. So even in school, that's kind of how I succeeded.
Sure.
So when it came to, and I'm just going to give an example.
Okay.
When I started in pro wrestling, so after I started learning some chain wrestling with Tornado in his basement, he said to me, we need to get you into a ring now. You can start learning the universal and stuff like that. So he got me to go to Crossbody Pro Wrestling in Kitchener, Ontario. And I was actually learning one-on-one with a coach. Not too long after that, I ended up training at Tyson Duke's Wrestling Factory in London, Ontario. And now I'm with a big group of people. And that's where the anxiety started to come in, because I don't have the confidence yet.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm still learning everything. So the confidence isn't there. I don't know what I'm doing. There's more bodies involved. So, there's a higher risk of injury. But at the same time, I don't want to. Sometimes I get too scared to ask questions or screw up in front of large groups of people.
Sure.
I am much more comfortable asking questions when I'm one-on-one. So I ended up doing a lot of traveling to London, Ontario for some smaller classes to get trained. So I was actually traveling about 6 hours one way training for 2 hours and driving 6 hours home.
No. How long did this go on for?
A couple months, every weekend, or every couple weekends.
Did you have any free time other than like
No.
doing that and work?
No, that was my life for this is how pro wrestling started for me. I put in the kilometers, the money, and the time.
12 hours to, wow, that's crazy.
They were long weekends. A
Yeah,
lot of the time I found myself, if I got too tired, I'd rent a hotel room. I'd sleep in my vehicle on the side of the highway. It got expensive, just gas and kilometers.
Does having like anxiety, were you driving by yourself?
All the time. I still
Okay.
do.
Now, was having anxiety, is it sometimes like bad to be alone by yourself? I'm not talking about like hurting yourself, but like being alone with your thoughts for that long and getting yourself down, or is that ever an issue?
I find that your worst enemy is your mind.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. So it always helps talking with somebody else and picking their brain.
Okay.
So if I was ever questioning certain things, I needed advice, there was always people I could call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're training. Do you tell somebody, hey, I'm ready to, for my first match? Or do they come and say, hey, we think you're ready for your first match?
So what happened was, after I was traveling every couple weekends for those long trips to get trained by Tyson Dukes, because I was taking so much time in between those training sessions, because it's a long trip,
Yeah.
I wasn't always retaining. So I would go there that day, learn, it was good, and then I'd go home, and then maybe a week or two later come back and learn some more. But then I haven't retained everything because I'm losing it now, right? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
not touching a wrestling ring for 1 or 2 weeks before I see Tyson Dukes again. So what I had to do was, I think it was in January of 2019 when I had to take annual leave for my policing career. So, when you want to take holidays, you take a week here, a week there, you kind of break it up throughout the year.
Sure.
What I did is I said to my service, I want all of my weeks allotted to me all in the month of January. And I moved my ass out to London, Ontario. And I slept in a bedroom of someone's house I just rented for the month.
Oh,
and
wow.
I got trained every single night by Tyson Dukes at his factory. So after that month, I think I really proved myself to Tyson Dukes, where he says, you're ready for your first match. And then from there, in April of 2019, I commenced my very first match with Smash Wrestling.
Were you nervous before, like even like maybe the night before your first match or the morning of?
Absolutely.
And did was it? But it was one of those things, because I've heard this a lot. It's like, once I walked through the curtain, I wasn't nervous anymore. Was that the case?
Still nervous.
Yeah, I bet. Me too.
Because I'm so new, I'm in tunnel vision mode, and because when you're new, you don't see everybody and the audience. You can hear them, but all you see is the lights and the ring and your opponent, and you're just trying to focus on getting it right and doing well, not screwing up. So I was still pretty nervous, but I think that's what makes me hungry. That's the things I strive for, is putting myself in uncomfortable situations. To me, if things were comfortable, I would get bored and I would want to move on and do something else. So.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Now, had you come up with I mean, I know you were like the elite athlete, like you actually were, but had you thought about that as your, persona, early, like during training? Does that happen?
I never really, when I was getting trained, I never really thought there was going to be a point in time where I'm going to be wrestling matches and I'm going to need a persona.
Yeah.
All I thought was that I wanted to train and run around a ring and see if I was good at it. So I never actually thought there would be a day where I would start a match. So when I had to think of Nova and the elite athlete, this was all super, super last minute. This was during that 1 month where Tyson Dukes was training me. Okay. And then he said, you're ready for your match. Start thinking of a name. So it was quite.
Oh, that was literally the first time you started.
Never thought of it before because I didn't think this would even happen.
So did you come up with this on your own, or did you like ask people for advice or their thoughts?
No, I did come up with it on my own, but I had to canvas a lot of names with Tyson because a lot of things have already been taken before.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyson, or I thought I had some great ideas and I would pass it by Tyson, and
Mm-hmm.
he just didn't like it. And he said, keep thinking. So he eventually said to me, you know what, Andrea, I want you to think of just a one namer. So not two names, one name, it's feminine and it's strong. So I ended up thinking of Supernova because that's kind of like what happened.
Uh-huh.
Because when I ended up having my very first match in April 2019, actually two weeks after that, I ended up flying out to the WWE Performance Center for tryouts. So it was just kind of like an exploding star. I came out of nowhere and I just kind of exploded with my wrestling career. So I passed by the name Nova to him, and he really liked it, and we went from there.
Oh yeah, I mean it's perfect in many ways. Did at this point, are your parents obviously are well aware that you're trained to become a pro wrestler? Are they on board with this?
Yes and no. A lot,
Okay.
and I still, even to this day, even my coworkers at my police service,
Mm-hmm.
they're very supportive, but at the same time, it's Andrea, don't get hurt because your policing career is the priority, and we need your boots on the ground. We need you on
Yeah.
the road. We can't have you injured. So I am kind of taking a chance, continuing to wrestle matches, but everybody talks about work-life balance, and this is
Yeah,
my
totally.
work-life balance. People can enter hockey tournaments or do MMA competitions on the weekends, and they can get injured there too.
Oh
So,
yeah. You
I
get
mean,
injured on the golf course. You
you
know
can
what I
get
mean? Like,
injured anywhere. At least in pro wrestling, we're training to execute our moves safely.
yeah, to not hurt
So,
your opponent.
right.
Um, okay, so how long after your first match did like the coronavirus stuff take over? Or put
So
a halt to things?
I commenced in April 2019 my
Mm-hmm.
pro wrestling career, and then I was active, very very active, in matches for 11 months
Mm-hmm.
before the pandemic took over in March of 2020.
Mm-hmm. And you won a championship during that time, correct?
I did.
Was that fun?
That was amazing. I cried. I didn't even think I would become a pro wrestler, let alone win a championship belt.
Did they come out of the blue, or were you working towards that? The opportunity.
Well, the entire year I was working my ass off.
Uh-huh.
I was trying to put in the reps. I was putting in the time. But I also felt very green and still
Mm-hmm.
I still had a lot to learn. So it was pretty unexpected. But I did quickly realize that in the north, every time I came to the north, so around my area of where I grew up,
Mm-hmm.
there would be a very, very, very big fandom, a very big showing. And I think I really proved myself to the fans up north, and they're a big fan of a small town girl who works
Uh-huh.
extremely hard and then actually becomes successful. It was very motivating to them. They looked up to that. Yeah.
When you won your belt, how long from when it was given to you in the ring till you got back, were you in front of a mirror looking at yourself with it on? Does it happen backstage? Does it happen later when you get home?
Before I looked into a mirror?
With, holding, like posing with the belt, just for you and yourself.
Definitely when I got home.
Oh, okay.
So I had to travel a couple hours to get home, but then once I got home, I put it on the mirror and I'm like, holy shit, this actually happened.
Have your coworkers seen you wrestle?
Some of them have.
Has it changed your relationship with any of them?
I would say yes, for the better.
That's awesome. Well, because they're scared of you now, but
even just, I would say about 2-3 weekends ago, some of my coworkers who are officers had to actually work as security at an outdoor festival, and I ended up wrestling there. So they
Oh,
got to
that's
watch
awesome.
me jump off the top turnbuckle and drop kick some girls and stuff like that. And they totally loved it. And I do feel like it's brought us closer because we got to chat outside of, the work environment.
Yeah.
That way.
When you're in the ring in that situation, that exact situation, are you like performing for two sets of people, like for the audience and also for your coworkers?
No.
No, it's just
when I'm on duty, I'm on duty. When I'm wrestling for the little girls and the little boys and to be a good role model for them.
awesome. So like the pandemic was probably, I was thinking about this earlier today. I'm like, oh, I wonder, I during the pandemic, it was nice. Everything was simple. Didn't have to go to work. Kids didn't have to go to school. But you probably had the exact opposite, right? Did you there was no stay at home for you as a police officer?
No, I had to continue to work.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an interesting time. I definitely noticed that there was an increase in our calls for service for mental health.
Oh yeah, I imagine.
It was a really, really, really crazy time for everybody. Just things being shut down. People can't access the gym for their mental health.
Yeah, that their doctors or rehab or therapy like aren't taking people,
Even now, it's hard for people to access those resources because either there's a shortage or there's a long wait list, or it's too expensive for people. It's really sad.
When did things open up in Canada for you guys?
That's a good question because I think we had like two or three other closures and shutdowns. Once things kind of had a soft opening, it shut down again, and then things started to open it back up and it shut down again.
Oh my! And was that frustrating from professionally, like as a pro wrestler? Was it, especially
Absolutely.
you're so early on?
Yeah, I'm trying to train here and stay in shape. So I did resort to outdoor fitness a lot during that time.
Okay.
I would find myself because schools were shut down too, right? So schools were in because of the pandemic. So I would actually go to like a random school in my neighborhood and I would go to the back football field and I would bring my weight vest, I'd bring my kettlebells and my dumbbells and I would just make a boot camp workout out of it. And I would run the entire football field. I would jump up on the football goalpost and do pull-ups with my weight vest. So I'm doing literally what I can to try and stay in shape because you just never know when things are going to reopen and then they need me for a wrestling match.
Yeah, and then you need to be ready to go.
Yeah.
Were there any positives come out of this time of the pandemic?
I guess the only the positive is that it's you versus yourself, and I really got to see my drive during that time and my motivation. I'm actually quite glad that I stayed so motivated and so my worst fear did happen was that literally out of nowhere, Northland Wrestling, which is where I held the title, said, hey, you know what? We can't do indoors. We can't have spectators sit indoors at shows right now. But you know what? We're going to do an outdoor show at a brewery and you're going to defend your title for the very first time since the pandemic hit. So I'm actually quite glad that I stayed that motivated during the pandemic to stay fit.
Sure.
Because my very first match back after the pandemic was defending my title for the first time. So
is it fun wrestling outdoors?
I love it.
Yeah, I bet that's really cool.
It's always a toss up because you never know with nature how that's gonna play out. So the promoters are actually taking a chance at it.
And if it's really hot, can you feel that, or I mean, you're not even thinking about it?
It sucks, especially on the mat, because if you're getting pinned, you have to. You're getting held there, and sometimes it feels like you're getting a second-degree burn on your skin.
Oh God. Okay. That's what most
it
most
can get
events
very
are
hot
indoors.
depending on the movement and if there's a submission hold or something like that.
Yeah. Are you still crafting your move set, or do you have like your staples already?
I do have some staples already, but I'm continuing to evolve. And so I was always told that whatever skill sets I have and what move sets I have, do them a lot so you can do them well. So once you get really, do them a lot so you can get really good at it. So once I get really good at it, I'm going to want to move on to something else. Right. So.
Okay. So it's evolving.
Absolutely. I'm always evolving. Always evolving.
All right. I've asked you a lot of questions. I've learned a lot. I have one more regular question for you.
Okay.
What's the best part of being a pro wrestler so far?
The best part of being a pro wrestler is being a positive influence on the younger generation. That's all I want to do. I grew up being bullied.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up by myself. I grew up not having lots of friends. And so because of that, I grew up looking up to a lot of people, a lot of people online, a lot of athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to actually be in person with these younger children and be able to shake their hand and, show them I'm approachable and that they can look up to me and I'm a positive role model for them. That's all I want to be.
I mean, I always tell my wife when we're talking about wrestling regarding my children, like, no, these are like superheroes to children, I mean,
And that's
I
what
was
I was told.
not with
We're somewhat like superheroes. So
yeah,
I want
totally.
to actually accept that and adapt that role and be a positive role model for the younger generation.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, and kids are so impressionable at that time anyways, so like getting to know someone, oh, they shook my hand, like that's, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they just shook a hand with a superhero. I sometimes get that and I'm like 46 years old, but like, okay. Before I let you go, can I ask you 5 non-wrestling related yes or no questions? And you don't have to elaborate. You could just give yes or no. Okay. Are you a fan of mermen?
Of what?
Mermen, the male version of mermaids?
Sure.
Okay. Can you call me a foul name in language other than English?
Yes.
Okay. I was giving you 2 seconds to do so. If you didn't, I'm moving on. Okay. You lost your opportunity to. I was just. All right. For 4 points.
I am French though.
You see, that's what I figured that would be like merit or something, like or some. All right, for $4.5 million, would you start if you don't have one already, a vaping habit?
Vaping?
Mm-hmm.
I already started.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, that just saved me a ton of money. Okay. Have you ever spit on a child?
No.
Okay. I'm just asking. And do you
Such
believe
a random question?
Do you believe that whistling indoors invites evil into your home? It's forbidden to do that in Lithuania, by the way.
So I'm gonna say yes. So
Ooh, really?
And I'm gonna expand on that actually.
Okay.
So because of I've spent many years of my career working in a cell block.
Okay.
So whistling it's kind of like an unwritten rule where you just don't do it. It's kind of forbidden.
Really?
Yeah, because whistling in the cell block in the jail cell, whistling symbolizes a bird, and a bird is free. So whistling in a cell block is kind of like throwing it in the face of the inmates that you have your liberty and they don't. So whistling is completely it's an unwritten rule. It's forbidden. So I would actually not whistle anywhere.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay.
I still don't. It's a habit I've picked up over the years.
Yeah.
I don't like whistling. It's disrespectful. So
okay. I'm gonna tell my kids not to do that if they ever get picked up. Because they very well could be.
Yeah, don't whistle in the cell block.
Yeah, totally. If there's one thing your father taught you, All right, thank you. You 5 for 5. You did great.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming on this Friday evening. I hope that you have a nice evening planned ahead of you. Where and when are you wrestling next?
So tomorrow I'm working on patrol. So the following weekend, I have a double header.
Mhm.
I am wrestling for Great North Wrestling in Petawawa, Ontario, defending my championship title. And the following day, I am wrestling for Kawartha Mania in the Kawarthas in Ontario.
How far distance is that?
I think it might be a 3-hour drive in between.
Oh, but that's nothing to you? 3 hours?
No,
Oh, okay.
it's fun. It's just fun. It's something, again, it's what I do on my days off. It breaks up work for me, and I absolutely enjoy it. It makes me
Okay, hold
happy.
on. I have 49 seconds left. I have one question. Is wrestling like really fun? Like, do you wake up on the day of a match and like be so excited? Like, is it fun
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. It's a good
okay.
time.
All right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, good
All right.
time, good people, good coworkers there. Everyone's amazing.
Oh, that's great. All right. Thank you again so much. I wish you nothing but health and happiness going forward. And hopefully we can talk again down the road.
Thank you for having me.
All right. My pleasure, Nova. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.